you know what? Sure, we're not going to top Macho or Mr. Perfect, I get that. Let's feel real bad for a little bit. Why don't we, huh? Why don't we just have a real feel-bad video? From Mattel WWE Superstars, the tribute line to the Remco AWA line, this is a Wave 1 Bray Wyatt and a Wave 4 Rock? I'm pretty sure Rock was Wave 4. So, these are the final figures I picked up. Real funny, right? I never picked up Bray because they just straight up never did any other modern talent. Everyone else has been like from the 80s or 90s, so Bray always kind of stood out. But, you know, overall I think the figure looks pretty cool, so figured I'd pick it up. And especially because it was on like super deep discount at this point. As for The Rock, I don't know, it looked fine. I feel really bad because right now we're going to talk about someone who I kind of just do not like, and someone who's passed away recently. So, let's just get into it, man. Looking at Bray first, and I'll be honest, I've been kind of avoiding talking about Bray ever since he passed away, and I did that tribute video to him. Essentially, I have a review of Bray Wyatt that I've been sitting on ever since he passed away, because it was supposed to like be posted the week after. I don't want to do it because so many people who like follow wrestling were doing Bray videos, and it's like, I did the tribute video, I didn't want to do another toy review just to like cash in on it. So it's been really awkward, because like Bray is kind of weird for me because he's a wrestler I grew up while he was like in his peak. And him dying is kind of the first of that type of wrestler to hit me, aside from Brody Lee, and it was sad, man. I still hate that we're in a world without Bray. One of the single greatest wrestlers of his generation, one of the greatest minds ever. The exact opposite of The Rock. This guy had infinite potential and was never given opportunity. He was never given the proper backing. He was constantly shoehorned because I guess Vince just didn't get it, yeah? But, since we're talking about it, this figure is pretty cool. It's obviously not a Bray or a Fiend as we saw. This is supposed to be like a Firefly Funhouse look. He comes with the top hat, which I do like, and then the jacket is pretty cool. We can take that stuff off. Doop. Get the jacket off. And, oh, okay, so I can figure out what the bow tie was getting caught on. It's getting caught onto his braids. Can I? Oh, well, there goes his... Can I get his head off? Jesus. Okay, that sounded like it was snapping. Okay, so the head, either I just have a bum Bray or that head's not supposed to come off. I just heard something pop. I'm not messing with that anymore. Look underneath. The tattoos are decent. There's a lot of details missing. The torso's, like, alright. Bray is really jacked here, but that's also kind of the style they go for. Overall, he's alright. Definitely not the best Bray we ever got. And really weird that, like, again, this is the only modern person who has a superstar figure. In terms of accessories, we do have his entrance gear. We also have these hurt heel hands. We have kind of more grippy hands, also with the gloves. And we have a pair of closed fists without the gloves. Decent little spread. Nothing too impressive. Remember in Wave 1 you had NWO Hogan, who came with the belt. Honky Tonk came with the guitar. Ric Flair came with the glasses and microphone. Bray kind of just has this top hat going for him. The figure's fun, and it's an attire that I don't think we ever got in any other form. But I do kind of wish it was either a little bit better or a lot worse. Him being kind of in the middle with the pack, I mean, there's not much you can say about him. Now we gotta talk about The Rock. How do I describe The Rock? Well, for me, personally, you ever have that feeling where you don't like someone, but you can't really point your finger as to what it is you dislike about them? And everyone around you thinks you're crazy for thinking there's something up with the guy? Well, turns out I was fucking right about my guy. Turns out I was right the entire time. This guy actually is a schmuck, and no one wanted to believe me. Well, guess who was fucking right, because I'm always fucking right. Everyone talks now about how The Rock screwed over a lot of good people at DC, and he did. Don't forget that. But this shit's not new. I remember hearing the story chains constantly. The story of young Rock, you know, between the documentaries and the books, everything. And you would hear like, oh, well, The Rock had to live in a crappy studio with 12 dudes. Oh, well, Rock was actually in a shed with 15 dudes. Rock lived in a dumpster with 20 dudes. Rock had a mattress in the middle of fucking Central Park with 32 dudes. It always just kept getting worse. And The Rock constantly tried to paint himself as like, oh, I was a victim and all these other things. But here's the thing, right? As someone who is a huge wrestling fan, someone who's read way too many wrestling books, watched way too many wrestling things, and has a really good fucking memory, aka me, The Rock's story changes only in that every time it changes, The Rock has to be made out to be in really bad circumstances. And I'm not going to say The Rock doesn't struggle with things. I'm sure he does. He's a human being, right? But he tries to paint this picture of like, oh, I was homeless for years, and I had nothing given to me. Motherfucker had an in with a multi-billionaire who ran a worldwide media company. And he wants to play up like, oh, well, The Rock was so good at football, but then The Rock just walked away from it. No, it's because even though you did get to like a, what was it, like a starting, like a summer camp for football, it's the fact that it's always The Rock changes it to either make himself look worse in terms of his circumstances or make himself look better. He's never failed. It's almost like The Rock isn't a human. He's a media creation. Everything I get annoyed about with Hulk Hogan in terms of being a character is true for The Rock as a dude. Oh shit, this is an action figure review, isn't it? That sculpt's fine. I like how cartoony it is. You can take the vest off. You can see that he has his Braun Bull tattoo. Again, it looks fine. Nothing too crazy. And then you can take the pants off. He does have just some standard Rock trunks underneath. He doesn't have any knee pads. Oh, well, never mind. Yes, he does. There we go. Couldn't get the pants off. And then that looks decent. You know, looks like all the other figures from Superstars. But it's The Rock. In terms of accessories, he has his grippy hands, his two fists, his splayed hands, his sunglasses, this, and then the microphone. The microphone is too big to go into his hands. So that's just fucking peachy. I look at these two, and they're polar extremes of how the WWE treats people. On one hand, you had a guy who gave his all, was unbelievably creative, was willing to take risks, make himself look like a fool, and he was amazing and taken way too early. Meanwhile, The Rock here, he could never look weak. He could never be the butt of the joke. He always had to be the cool guy, and I'm having sex with all the girls. Right, Vince? It's that type of bullshit. So, between the two, Bray is my favorite figure, and the better human being, more than likely. Otherwise, I mean, they're fine. They're toys. I've done too many back-to-back reviews. I'm pissed off now. I'm going to bed and, I don't know, fucking have my heart attack finally.